Something inside me and I'm sharing it. I'm just cruising for clarity with a therapist. Hey, let me roll down the window. Hosted by Francisco Castillo. Hey, yeah, you deserve to be heard. Explore what you feel, no stress or concern. Hey, something inside me and I'm sharing it. I'm just cruising for clarity with a therapist. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Cruising for Clarity with a Therapist. I'm Francisco, and as always, I'm grateful you're taking the time to tune in and reflect with me. Before we jump in, I just want to check in. How are you showing up for yourself today? Not the version that's got it all together, but the one navigating real life, real emotions, and real relationships. That version is welcome here. All right, so today we're diving into something that might just shift how you see love. Not just how you give it or receive it, but how you become it. Here's the question I want to explore with you. What if becoming the love we want starts from within? This episode is inspired by the powerful book Loving Bravely by psychologist and professor Dr. Alexandra H. This book has reshaped how I think and talk about love, not just as a feeling, but as a skill, a practice, and even a kind of personal growth curriculum. Whether you're single, partnered, or somewhere in between, today's episode is for anyone who wants to stop outsourcing love and start anchoring it inward. Before we dive deeper, I want to pause and unpack some of the biggest myths about love. These are the ones I hear in the therapy room, in everyday conversations, and let's be honest, sometimes in my own mind too. They're so common, they start to feel like truth, but they're not. So let's bust a few of them wide open. We've all heard this one, that if it's the right person, love will just flow with no effort, no tension, no growing pains. But here's the truth. Love is real work, not because it's broken or doomed, but because it's asking something of you. The kind of love that transforms us doesn't just coast, it invites us to look inward, take ownership, sit with discomfort, and grow. That's not easy, but it's where the magic happens. And honestly, it's where the healing happens too. This one's a classic Hollywood sell, right? The "you complete me" line. It sounds romantic, but it's risky. If we're looking for someone to fill what feels empty inside us, we're putting way too much pressure on the relationship and on our partner. What we actually need isn't a missing puzzle piece. We need someone who sees us, respects the whole person we already are, and grows alongside us. You are not incomplete, and love doesn't require you to be fixed before you're worthy of it. This one can sound comforting, but it can quietly disempower us. It says, just wait. Don't put in effort, don't reflect, don't choose. But real, lasting love, it's something we build, not just something we bump into. All right, chemistry and connection matter, but so do commitment, communication, and your choice to be present. Let's stop romanticizing passivity and start honoring the brave, messy process of intentionally building love. Today, I want to delve deeper. Let's explore what it truly means to love bravely, not just in theory, but in practice. I'll share 5 core insights inspired by Dr. Solomon's book, Loving Bravely, filtered through real-life stories, personal reflection, and my experiences as a therapist working with people every day. We're often taught to search for the one, the perfect partner who will make us feel seen, safe, desired, even whole. It's a narrative sold to us by movies, songs, and sometimes well-meaning advice. But what if I told you the real journey to lasting love doesn't start with finding the right person? It starts with becoming the right person. Becoming the one doesn't mean being flawless, emotionally unshakable, or having everything figured out. It means learning to meet yourself with the curiosity, compassion, and consistency you hope to experience in your next relationship or in the one you're already in. I've sat with many people in the therapy room, those who deeply want love, but struggle to feel worthy of it. Often what's missing isn't love itself, it's self-attunement. It's the ability to know, what do I need right now? Where do I carry fear? What parts of me are still waiting for validation? When we skip this inner work, we tend to outsource our sense of security. We end up hoping someone else will fix, fill, or affirm us. But that creates dependency, not intimacy. Loving bravely starts when you begin showing up for yourself, the way you want others to show up for you. And listen, It doesn't mean you have to do all the work before you let yourself love. It just means you're willing to take responsibility for your own healing so that your partner doesn't have to carry wounds they didn't cause. So instead of asking, when will I find someone who really gets me? Ask, am I someone who gets me? Do I know what makes me feel safe? What sets me off? What I long for when I feel lonely? Because the deeper that relationship with yourself goes, the more honest and fulfilling your relationships with others can be. Here's a question I want to leave you with for this part of the episode. What would it look like to show up for yourself the way you want someone else to show up for you? That could mean speaking to yourself more gently, setting a healthier boundary, or just acknowledging that your feelings matter, even when no one else is watching. Our families were our first love classrooms, long before dating apps and love languages. The way you were cared for, ignored, nurtured, punished, or protected shaped your earliest blueprint of what love feels like. That blueprint didn't vanish when you turned 18. It shows up in how you relate, argue, apologize, and even disconnect. As therapists, we see it all the time. Someone says, I always pick emotionally unavailable people, or I feel like I shut down every time someone gets too close. These aren't random patterns. They're echoes of old relational scripts. Dr. Solomon, in Loving Bravely, talks about how the past doesn't just disappear. It rides shotgun in your relationships unless you take the wheel. The attachment wounds, unspoken family rules, or childhood coping strategies we develop for survival can become the very things that block connection today. And here's the key. Awareness creates choice. If we don't identify those old dynamics, we unconsciously repeat them. But when we do recognize them, when we realize, hey, I'm reacting to this like I used to react to my emotionally distant dad, we gain the power to choose something new. We're no longer at the mercy of an old story. Let me give you a quick example. I once worked with a client who never felt good enough growing up. Nothing they did was celebrated. They didn't realize how deeply that message affected them until they noticed they constantly needed praise in their adult relationships and fell apart when it wasn't given. Once they connected that pattern to their family experience, they could start addressing that need from a place of self-compassion instead of shame or blame. So here's something I want you to consider. What was your very first lesson in how people express love or how they handle conflict? And be honest, does that belief still serve you today? Or is it time to write a new lesson? Maybe your past said, don't speak up, it's not safe, or love means sacrifice, even if it hurts. But now you can ask, is that still true for the kind of relationship I want to build moving forward? Once we start seeing how our past shows up in our present, we unlock the power to love from a place of clarity, not confusion. And that brings us to our next key. Self-awareness isn't just helpful, it's attractive. Let's talk about what that actually means. Let's discuss something that often goes unnoticed in conversations about love, but is absolutely foundational. Self-awareness. There's something quietly powerful, almost magnetic, about someone who knows themselves. Someone who can say, hey, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now and need a moment, instead of reacting with anger, withdrawal, or defensiveness. That kind of presence builds trust. It creates emotional safety and tells your partner, I know who I am, and I'm showing up with intention, not just reaction. In therapy, we often discuss emotional intelligence, but I like to take it further. Relational self-awareness. This means understanding the reasons behind your reactions. It involves asking yourself questions like, why did I get so upset just now? Where have I felt this before? What's the story I'm telling myself about this moment? Dr. Solomon calls this work radical self-responsibility. When you understand your emotional patterns and attachment wounds, you're not waiting for someone else to fix you. You're tending to your own emotional garden. When both partners do this, the relationship focuses less on blame and more on growth. This kind of awareness creates a foundation for genuine communication, not just surface-level interactions, but the kind that builds trust over time. I once worked with someone who became extremely anxious whenever their partner didn't text back quickly. They would spiral into panic, feel abandoned, and sometimes lash out. As we explored deeper, they realized this anxiety traced back to an inconsistent parent from childhood. Once they identified that trigger, they stopped blaming their partner and started saying things like, "Hey, I know this is old stuff coming up for me. I just need some reassurance." That small shift changed everything in how they related. Take a moment and ask yourself, what's a reaction I've had recently that caught me off guard? Instead of judging it, get curious. What story might be fueling it? What part of me was trying to protect something? The more aware you are of your inner world, the more you can create connections in your outer world. This brings us to our next key, how we protect that connection through healthy, clear boundaries. There's a common misunderstanding that boundaries are walls, rigid, cold, or even a form of punishment. But boundaries, when set with care, are actually blueprints for connection. They don't push people away. They show people how to love you well. Think of a boundary as saying, "This is how I feel safe enough to stay open." It's not to shut people out, but to invite them into a relationship with you in a way that's respectful, mutual, and emotionally sustainable. In therapy, I often remind clients that boundaries aren't about control, they're about clarity. They protect the relationship, not just the individual. When you clearly communicate your needs and limits, you create a foundation where trust can grow. Dr. Solomon echoes this beautifully in Loving Bravely. She teaches that boundaries are an expression of self-respect and self-awareness. They aren't selfish, they're sacred. They make space for honesty and give your partner a roadmap to navigate intimacy with you safely. Without boundaries, we end up overextending, people-pleasing, or silently resenting. When that resentment builds, it can rupture the very connection we're trying to preserve. Dr. Solomon emphasizes that many of us learned growing up that being nice meant saying yes, even when we wanted to say no. However, being nice isn't the same as being honest. If you constantly betray your own needs to keep the peace, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. I once worked with a client who said yes to every family obligation, even when it overwhelmed her, because she felt guilty saying no. Eventually, she started dreading time with her loved ones. Together, we worked on setting a boundary like, "I love spending time with you, but I won't be able to make every gathering. I want to show up fully when I'm there, not out of obligation." And guess what? Her relationships didn't fall apart. They got more honest. Here's something to journal on or just sit with. Where in your relationships are you overextending, staying silent, or shrinking to keep the peace? And what might a loving boundary look like instead? What would it mean to say no, not from fear, but from love for yourself and for the relationship? Setting boundaries might feel awkward at first, but over time, they become a source of freedom and connection. Boundaries don't end love, they protect it. This leads us to our final key. Brave love isn't perfect love. Let's discuss moving beyond either-or thinking and embracing the beautiful, messy both and of real relationships. Many of us grew up with the unspoken idea that love, when right, should feel effortless, that there won't be conflict, no one gets triggered, and the relationship will just fall into place. But real love isn't a fairy tale. Intentional love is the kind where you choose to show up, where you stay when things get hard. Not out of fear or habit, but out of a conscious commitment to growth, healing, and connection. Intentional love asks us to step into the gray area. It's not about black and white thinking like, if we fight, it means we're not meant to be. It's understanding that you can love someone and feel hurt, that you can be strong and still need emotional support, that you can feel triggered and still take responsibility for your reaction. This kind of love doesn't ignore pain, it works through it. It doesn't avoid tough conversations. It leans into them because it values the relationship too much to sweep things under the rug. Intentional love means saying, "I'm here for the work, not just the romance." It means asking yourself not just, "Do I love this person?" but also, "Am I willing to grow with this person? And am I willing to grow myself while I do?" Dr. Solomon describes romantic love as a classroom, and I agree. However, I see intentional love as more of a practice, something we return to daily. It teaches us patience, humility, presence, and how to sit with discomfort without checking out or lashing out. What's one both and truth you've learned in love? For example, I can be independent and still want to be held emotionally. Or I can be upset with you and still be committed to you. Love that lasts makes room for complexity, not perfection. So perhaps the most powerful shift we can make is letting go of perfect love and embracing intentional love. The kind that stays curious, the kind that listens even when it's uncomfortable, the kind that sees flaws and still says, I'm in this with you. So if today's episode stirred something in you, if you found yourself reflecting on your patterns, needs, or past, I just want to say that's the work. That's the kind of self-awareness that makes intentional love possible. You don't need to have it all figured out to love well. You just need a willingness to grow, to be honest with yourself, and to practice showing up. First for you, and then for the relationships that matter most. Remember, love isn't something you wait to find. It's something you learn to build. One moment of presence, one boundary, one brave conversation at a time. So whether you're single, partnered, healing, or somewhere in between, I hope you walk away from this episode knowing that healthy, connected love is possible, and it starts with how you love yourself. Thanks for being here with me. Until next time, stay connected and keep cruising toward clarity.
Stay tuned in, I hope you're coming back. A place you can grow, vibe out and relax. Time to get clarity, time to find joy. Find your inner self, discover and explore. Cruising for clarity with a therapist.